seems like a little bit of exaggeration. I mean, it's really hard to go to space, right? But the longer I've worked on this, the more I'm starting to think that maybe he had something to, he was, may have had a bit of a grain of truth there. And we think about going to space. It's in a vacuum, so pressures are really low and trying to rip everything apart, and it's really cold. The marine environment, pressures are really high. They're constantly trying to crush everything. The forces that are acting on these structures are really high. And rather than being in a medium that is basically kind of nothing, they're in a medium that's corrosive, electrically conductive, and is conducive to things growing on your structure that you really don't want to have there. I don't know, maybe space is actually easier. So this is the reason that this is actually challenging, is that this is a really tough environment to do anything, much less do something for an extended period of time. So how are different people trying to approach this? Well, many different engineering solutions to a single problem. And you can see that there's this whole range I'd call a design philosophy spectrum. And on one end, you've got different developers. I'll use tidal energy as an example because I know most about it, but you can pull out different wave examples as well, where you have developers that are trying to develop technologies that are relatively low efficiency but have extremely high mechanical simplicity. So this open hydro turbine, for example, it's rated at about 1 megawatt. It has a single moving part. This internal cassette rotates, and when it rotates, it's spinning a generator that's out in the rim. There's no gearbox, there's no shaft coupling, there's no shaft seals. It's just a rotor and a direct drive generator. To deploy this, it's a gravity foundation. You have a vessel that moves out to where you want to drop it on the seabed. You lower it down. You can do the entire deployment within about a tidal cycle. But it's relatively low efficiency. And so their argument is that the path to a really low cost of energy that can compete with combined cycle natural gas, which is where everyone wants to go, is that you have a system that's incredibly cheap to build and cheap to maintain, and you give up a little bit of the power generation potential. On the other end of the spectrum,